The first insult came before I even stepped into the wedding hall. A woman I had never met looked me up and down, curled her lip, and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "So that's the girl? She looks ordinary." The second insult came from my future mother-in-law. She smiled at me for the cameras, then leaned close enough that only I could hear. "I still don't know what my son sees in you." I felt my stomach tighten, but I remained silent, because I loved Ethan, and because Ethan had promised me none of this mattered. He had told me that his family was wealthy, powerful, and obsessed with status, but that he wasn't like them. I wanted to believe him. I really did. The wedding was being held at one of the most luxurious estates in the country. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings taller than most houses. Imported flowers covered every table. Luxury cars lined the driveway for nearly half a mile. Everything screamed wealth. Everything except me, at least according to his family. As guests arrived, I heard the whispers. "Where's her family? Does she even come for money? I heard she grew up overseas. Her father isn't attending." That tells you everything. Each comment landed like a stone. The truth was complicated. My father wasn't absent because he didn't care. He was absent because of duty. At least that was what everyone believed. Even Ethan only knew part of the truth. The truth I had hidden from almost everyone. The truth that would change everything before the day was over. I glanced at my phone. No messages. No calls. No indication my father would make it. A knot formed in my chest. Maybe he really wasn't coming. Maybe work had once again become more important than family. The ceremony began. Music echoed through the estate gardens. Hundreds of guests watched as I walked down the aisle. For a few minutes, nothing else mattered. Not the whispers. Not the judgment. Not the stares. Only Ethan. His eyes filled with emotion as he saw me approaching. I smiled. He smiled back. For the first time all day, I felt safe. The vows began. Everything seemed perfect until the reception. That was when Ethan's family decided humiliation wasn't enough. They wanted entertainment. The guests gathered inside the grand ballroom. Golden lights reflected from marble floors. Servers carried expensive champagne. A giant screen displayed photos of Ethan and me. Then Ethan's cousin stood up. Speech. Everyone cheered. At first it seemed harmless. Then he grinned. "Actually, let's play a little game." Laughter filled the room. "What game?" someone asked. He pointed toward me. "Let's guess what our new family member's father does for a living." The room exploded with amusement. My heart sank. "No," Ethan said immediately. But nobody listened. "A mechanic, a teacher, a security guard, a taxi driver." More laughter. My face burned. Then Ethan's aunt raised her glass. "Come on. If he was important, he would be here." That drew the loudest laughter yet. I looked at Ethan. He stood. "Enough." His voice was firm. The room quieted. For a moment. Then his grandfather spoke. The most powerful man in the family. A billionaire. The man everyone feared. He stared directly at me. "If your father respected this marriage, he would be present." Silence fell. Every eye turned toward me. I could feel hundreds of people waiting, watching, judging. I swallowed. My father wanted to come. "Wanted?" his grandfather repeated. "Yes." So he chose something else over his daughter. The room nodded. Agreement spread everywhere. Then he delivered the sentence that shattered whatever restraint remained. "Perhaps because he knows he isn't worthy of this family." Gasps echoed. Ethan slammed his hand onto the table. "Stop it." But the damage was done. The entire ballroom stared at me, waiting for tears, waiting for humiliation, waiting for me to break. Instead, I slowly stood. My hands trembled, not from fear, from anger. Years of hiding, years of pretending, years of protecting a secret. And now these people had pushed too far. "You think my father isn't worthy?" The grandfather smiled coldly. "Am I wrong?" I looked around the room. Every face reflected the same arrogance, the same certainty, the same belief that wealth made them superior. I took a breath. Then my phone vibrated. One message. Only 3 words. "I'm arriving now." My heart stopped. No, he couldn't be serious. Not now. Not today. I stared at the screen. My hands suddenly felt numb. The grandfather laughed. No answer. I slowly looked up. "My father is coming." The room erupted with laughter. Someone nearly spilled a drink. He's late to his own daughter's wedding. How impressive. Maybe he got lost. More laughter. I said nothing, because outside, something was happening. Something nobody expected. At first it was distant. The sound of engines. Lots of engines. Then security guards began talking into radios. Confusion spread through the ballroom. Guests started glancing toward the windows. The music stopped. Servers froze. A manager rushed across the room, looking terrified. The grandfather frowned. What is going on? Nobody answered. Then someone near the window gasped. Oh my God! Everyone turned. Outside the estate gates, a massive motorcade was approaching. Black armored vehicles. Luxury state cars. Security teams. Motorcycle escorts. The procession stretched farther than anyone could see. The room fell silent. Guests rushed toward the windows. What is that? Is it a president? A royal delegation? The estate manager looked pale. Very pale. Then he hurried directly toward me. Not Ethan. Not his grandfather. Me. He bowed his head slightly. Miss, they're asking for you. The entire ballroom froze. For me? Yes. His voice shook. They've arrived. The grandfather stood. Who has arrived? The manager swallowed. Then he said words that changed everything. Her Majesty's Royal Security Division. Silence. Absolute silence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The grandfather blinked. What? The manager repeated himself. The Royal Security Division. Confusion spread instantly. People looked at one another, trying to understand, trying to process. Then the ballroom doors opened. Security officers entered first. Perfectly dressed. Professional. Disciplined. Every movement precise. They lined both sides of the room. The atmosphere changed instantly. Even the billionaires present suddenly looked small. Then one final figure appeared in the doorway. The moment I saw him, my eyes filled with tears. Because despite the crown, despite the power, despite the decades of responsibility, he was still my father, the king. The room collectively stopped breathing. Ethan stared in disbelief. His mother nearly collapsed. Several guests literally dropped their glasses. The grandfather's face lost all color. My father walked forward, calm, dignified, powerful. Every step echoed through the silent ballroom. Nobody laughed anymore. Nobody whispered anymore. Nobody dared. When he reached me, he smiled. The same smile he had given me since childhood. The smile of a father seeing his daughter. Not a king, just a father. I made it. Tears rolled down my cheeks. You came. Nothing would keep me away. Then he hugged me. The entire room watched, speechless. The king himself embracing the woman they had mocked for hours. When he stepped back, his eyes scanned the room. Not angrily. Worse. Disappointed. Had my daughter been treated well? Nobody answered. Not one person. Because everyone knew the truth. The silence told him everything. His expression hardened. Not dramatically. Just enough. And somehow that was far more terrifying. The grandfather approached. His confidence had vanished. Your Majesty, had we known, my father interrupted. You would have treated her differently? The question landed like a hammer. The grandfather froze. That's not what I meant. Then explain what you meant. No answer came. Because there wasn't one. My father looked around the room. You judged a woman's worth based on your assumptions. Nobody spoke. You measured her value through status. Still silence. You mocked her family because you believed they were beneath you. Every word struck harder than the last. The grandfather looked smaller with each passing second. Then my father delivered the final blow. You call yourselves elite. His gaze swept across the ballroom. But true class is revealed in how you treat those who can offer you nothing. The room remained silent. Ashamed. Broken. Exposed. Then something unexpected happened. Ethan stepped forward. He knelt before my father. Not as a subject. As a man asking forgiveness. Sir, I failed to protect her. My father studied him. You tried. I should have done more. Yes. The answer stunned everyone. My father continued. A husband must never allow his wife to stand alone. Ethan lowered his head. I understand. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then my father extended his hand. Ethan looked surprised. Slowly, he accepted it. My father helped him stand. You still have time to become the man she deserves. Relief flooded Ethan's face. The grandfather suddenly approached me, the proud billionaire who had spent hours insulting me. Now he looked decades older. "I owe you an apology." I stared at him. The entire room waited. "I judge you unfairly." His voice cracked. I was wrong. For a moment I considered everything he had said. Every insult, every humiliation, every cruel remark. Then I realized something. His apology wasn't important, because he no longer had power over me. Accepted. One word. Nothing more. The reception transformed after that. Not because people suddenly respected me, because they finally understood who I was. Yet ironically, that bothered me. I hadn't changed. I was the same woman they had mocked that morning. The only difference was knowledge. That realization haunted the room. Guests who had ignored me now wanted conversations. People who had laughed wanted photographs. People who had judged wanted connections. My father noticed. So did I. Hours later, as the celebration continued, we stood alone on a balcony overlooking the estate. The night air felt cool, peaceful. He smiled. "You hid your identity well. I learned from you." He laughed softly. "Yes, perhaps too well." I looked at the stars. "Do you know what hurts most?" "What?" "They only respected me after they learned who you were." My father became quiet. Then he placed a hand on my shoulder. "Then remember this." I looked at him. Their respect was never the prize. What was? He smiled. The moment they revealed who they truly were. I thought about the ballroom. The insults. The cruelty. The arrogance. Then I understood. Status hadn't exposed me. It had exposed them. The people who believed money created value. The people who believed power created worth. The people who mistook privilege for character. And in a single evening, all their masks had fallen. My father looked toward the celebration. Today, they discovered a king's daughter. I smiled. And what did I discover? He squeezed my shoulder gently. That you never needed a crown to be worth respecting. Below us, the music played once more. Inside the ballroom, the powerful and wealthy continued celebrating. But none of them would ever forget what happened that night. The night they called a bride nobody, and watched in horror as her father, the king, walked through the doors.